Van D, a dynamic leader with decades of experience building companies and crushing sales. He's been there and done that.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Van D.
Inspiring audiences across the country to do it too. Here's Van.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Van D podcast. I am super fired up today because I got some great guests that are the perfect two people to talk about our topic, which is the 4 Ds: drive, desire, determination, and discipline. And speaking of the Ds, I got my buddy Dan here, and I got Billy the Kid here.
Woo!
Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us, man.
There it is. I still can't do that. I still don't know how you guys did
It's
it.
taken Billy years.
I need to
years of practice, man.
I need to practice that. So let me give my audience a little bit of a brief bio on both you guys. So Billy is better known for his rapping and his real estate skills. Both Billy's careers are worth celebrating because in his early life, he was anything but comfortable. Growing up in El Salvador, he was used to no running water and no electricity. He likes to say that he didn't start at 0, but he started at a negative 100. Billy's family immigrated to the United States when he was 10 years old, moving first to California and then later to Nebraska. As a teenager, my buddy Billy began rapping as a way for him to express himself, but found he loved the craft. Rapping allowed Billy to fill his time with something positive instead of taking the wrong path, which many of his peers did. Music taught Billy sales skills, business skills, how taxes work, and most importantly, how to make the money. Woo!
That's very important, right?
Yeah. So, Billy, that's a little bit about you, and I want to also talk about Dan. Dan is a husband, a father of 2, and you got one on the way.
On the way next month, yeah.
Right on. Dan is a real estate investor, owns a video production company, a commercial cleaning business, in addition to maintaining a full-time position as an IT manager for a plastics company. He is the co-host, along with Billy, of the Minority Report podcast, where they talk about real estate, entrepreneurship, and mindset. And I want to tell you, I was really blessed to be on their podcast, the Minority Report. And I got to tell you something. I'm not just saying that because you guys are here, but I had more fun on the Minority Report podcast with you two. It was crazy. It was just, I felt like I was with 2 guys that have experienced so much life and so much business that I left there really fulfilled.
We were fulfilled, man.
Yeah,
it was awesome having you.
I've watched it a couple times myself.
Yeah.
There were so many gems on there. Yeah, so if you guys haven't checked it out, it was episode 24, I want to say. 24, 25. One of those. Just look it up. It's 24, 25.
And do they just look up the Minority Report podcast?
Yeah.
Is that the best thing to do on Apple, Spotify?
Because there's a few
sometimes too, yeah. If you add Billy or Dan at the end of the Minority Report podcast, it should come up.
Oh, that sounds really good.
But we started to be the top ones on the search. We're getting ranked. So we're starting to come up. Yeah. So
it's only been a year. So.
Wow. You guys know what you're doing. That's for damn sure.
It's fun. We love doing it.
So I really couldn't think of anybody better to have on as guests when I'm talking about these 4 Ds, because I really believe in what we're going to talk about. I started out in my career, I come from a family of teachers. I didn't have anybody telling me about how to be a businessman and these are the steps you take, and boy, you can get out there and do it. I had to figure it all out. And I know without desire, and without having drive and being determined to succeed, it's not going to happen. Right. But what really will make all this come together is discipline. And discipline is, I believe, is a key word for both of you. You guys have disciplined yourselves to do things the right way, to avoid the wrong things. And to make things happen as such young guys. And so that's what we're going to get into today. And I want to get both your opinions of what the 4 Ds mean to you. And, with me, I'm driven to succeed. I have a desire to accomplish my goals, and I'm determined to make things happen. But like I say, if I don't have the discipline, and the discipline to me is the work. To me, the work and discipline are the same things. So if you know that you're going to be better at what you do by getting to your work, getting to your office, or starting your work day out of your house, or whatever you're doing, if you know you're going to be better at it by starting an hour early, staying an hour late, prioritizing your time, which I think discipline and prioritizing your time really do go together.
Yeah, that's huge. If you don't have that time management, you can't do anything.
But tell me, Dan, give me tell me like a typical day for you, that with all of the entrepreneurship things that you're doing in your work day, what kind of discipline have you incorporated?
So for me, honestly, like discipline and consistency has been my biggest challenge since I started, because I'm like you. I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family at all, and I just kind of learned it along the way. And the one regret I have is that I hadn't started earlier. But so discipline has been something that I've really been trying to grow now. And what's really helped me has been coaching. Actually getting coaches. I have 3 right now that I'm working with, and probably going to bring on a 4th.
Right on.
So what I've found that, and actually through our podcast, what I found, and I know you're a coach too, it's that when people are successful, the one thing that I've noticed they have in common is that they have a coach, for whatever it is they're trying to get good at.
It's a commonality of successful people.
And so for me, that's helped with the discipline. So, typically, right now I just got a health coach because, I got, what is the COVID-20 or something that people were talking about? I got like a COVID 50 pounds. Yeah. And so I'm trying to lose that. But so I ended up getting a health coach. And so, they're helping me, get up earlier and stay motivated to do my morning routine now. And, it's really, like you said, it's about time management. And now what I do, I put everything on my calendar, because if I don't have it on my calendar, like I know this was going to happen today. Yeah. It wasn't going to escape me, but I had to put it on my calendar. And so discipline is kind of not so much relying on willpower, but planning ahead so that you can't give yourself an out.
Yeah, and priority. I mean, when I think of discipline in my life, what I've had to do, I think it's priority. What's important and what's not important. And Billy, it's hard to say no. I don't know what your take is on that, and if you're good at saying no to people. But it's taken me. I mean, I've been a businessman now for 39 years, and it's taken me a long time to say no to things that really aren't going to be productive for me. But when you do, it's liberating. When you've done something to not do something, it's liberating.
Yeah, I agree. And what's crazy, because it's something that I've fought literally all my life, not just career, but I also though have an argument for that that I read that basically says, and I have my notes here, that an abundant mindset says yes all the time, so it might be a good problem. And a scarcity mindset says no a lot of times. And I think me and you have talked about that because I am a yes man, and I don't know, I'll ride with that wave with the abundant mindset, and I could definitely see that, because with me it's like it could be 7 p.m. and it's like, hey, at 7:30 can you do this? And I'm most likely to be like, you kind of have to have that.
Well,
open.
It's also part of being a good person, and you're a good person, so you don't want to disappoint anybody. But you can't do it on the risk of your own happiness.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah.
But I'm with you, and I'm glad that it's okay to be I'm glad you validated it, saying it's okay to be a yes man.
And I feel like those 4 words, the 4 Ds, they're definitely part of like your success. Like you got to have both. You got to have all 4 of those if you want to succeed. I look at it as like desire, drive, and determination and discipline. They're all like muscles, and we've talked about this before, where like positivity is a muscle. I think you have to exercise those 4 things every single day in order for you to be productive. And even as like with discipline, for example, it's something that I definitely struggle with, but when you have rules in place, like what Dan said, having your calendar, for example, you know, with me, I have my calendar for all my companies, for the family, like it's on to one. My wife copies it and pastes this every week. At the beginning of the week, she's like, hey, what's your calendar look like? And she's really good at keeping me on track. Because like I said, I'm a yes man. There's times where I'm like, yeah, we could do dinner. And she's like, that's your daughter's game that night or whatever, you know. So she keeps me on my toes with that. But also, with one of the podcasts that we listened to, you know, with discipline, you talked about going to bed, and people usually go to bed at night thinking they're resting for that day, but in reality, you're resting to get ready for the next day. So it's like if you go to bed in that mindset, and that really did hit me. So now I'm trying my best to go to bed at 9-10 p.m. because I want to be up, man. I love life, so I want to be up till 1 a.m. and wake up at 5, you know, but it's not healthy either. So usually, if you prep yourself the night before thinking for the next day, you're going to be successful.
And put it on paper. Put it on paper. So getting back to discipline, so when you wrote your book, what kind of discipline did that require?
You know,
I mean, you had to take the time to say, today I'm going to write. I'm going to write for an hour. From 2 to 3, I'm going to write. I'm going to do, you know. Did you have to make it like part of your schedule?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's a great question. And it's funny because most of the book, actually, I stayed up. I texted you.
Like a lot of it was on a flight.
It was like
something.
a night, it was a night thing that I'm just like, I started writing like at 10 p.m. And now that's how I am too. I'm one of those where with my music or anything, once I get an idea, if I don't do it then I feel like I'm going to be pushing it years to come. And, you know.
And let me tell you what happens. Yeah. And this is a fact. You're laying in bed. You got this killer idea. You'll forget it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it may not come back to you for 2 or 3 days. So,
seriously.
So I've got my phone, which I turn off the you know, so I don't get a text at
right, like
late, and it wakes me up because I don't you know, as far as being a sound sleeper, if I hear a noise, it'll wake me up. So I make sure to turn my phone off. But if I have an idea, I used to get up out of bed, get my pad and pen, which I keep by my nightstand, and I'd write it down. Now I just grab my phone and I talk in it, and I send an email to myself. But you really have to, at that moment, you have to either record it or write it down.
Yeah,
because we as human beings are going to forget great ideas.
That's a good idea to email yourself. I never thought of that.
That's what I do because I don't want to get up and write. I want to put on my reading glasses. I just want to press a button and say, "Hey, this is a great idea," you know, and then I'll get it.
Yeah, no. If you look through my notepad, I have crazy notes. Like there's book summaries. There's maintenance, like for my business, my book program, ideas, quotes, and to do. There's a lot of times when, for example, if I go out of town, if there's things that are coming up before I head out, I'll make a to-do list when I come back, and I keep adding to that list. And I think that definitely goes with discipline. Yeah, you know, writing things down is probably one of the most important things you could do.
Yeah. And I always like to only talk about my experiences. I like to, because that's how I can better improve the lives of the people listening, is if I've been there and done that. Right. And I know that what you just said, writing it down, has played a big role in me getting stuff done during the day. But somebody taught me this, and this isn't a goal-setting podcast, but somebody had taught me this, and I started doing it. When you make your to-do list, start at the last thing on the to-do list.
Ooh.
Let's say you got 9 things you want to do tomorrow. Start with number 9, because if you start crossing them off, your mindset will not allow you to keep 1, 2, and 3 without being done.
That's interesting.
And it really does work for me.
It's like the debt thing, like the snowball with debt.
Exactly.
Pay the smallest one first.
Yeah, it's something that works. But also, you guys, you know, both of you would not be where you are today in the way you do business and your attitudes without a desire. You know, desire to me is everything. And I'm a big fan of Napoleon Hill. You know, he wrote
my favorite.
Yeah. You know, Napoleon.
That's my favorite book. That's my Bible.
Yeah, and they say of all the self-help, all of the motivational, inspirational, empowerment books that are out there, and I think it was written in the 50s. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It's still number 1 or 2 on every book chart.
Earlier,
I think it was in 30s, actually.
It was earlier,
So,
I think.
so this is something Napoleon Hill says. He says, desire is the starting point of all achievement, not a hope, not a wish, but a keen pulsating desire which transcends everything.
Love it. Wow.
And that really resonates with me because, so many people are talking about what they want to do in life and what their dreams are. But to me, when you truly have a desire to make it happen, then you're going to get it done.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can do one without the other. I really believe, this is why I've been talking about the 4 Ds my whole life. Now, when I was younger, mostly double Ds, but I said that, didn't I, Cam?
Damn it, Deeb.
Cam, dang it, Deeb.
Dang it, Deeb.
Cam's
That's a new series.
Cam's like, well, that's about as bad as he gets on this podcast.
What kind of podcast did you bring us to? I kind of like it.
That's disgusting. I love it.
Gosh, dang it.
I listen to that book every year.
Do you really?
Yeah. At the beginning of the year, depending on where I'm at with the last one for the year, like January, though, at the beginning, towards the end of January, that's the first book I'm listening to. And every year, man, there's something I pick up. There's so many different versions, too. So I like the first few years, I did the same version every time. But this last year, I did like a 2-hour long one where it was more of a... He was just live going through the points of the book. And honestly, man, I'll say it here. Dang it.
Yeah.
I think every book comes from that book. Like every self-help book.
Well, I want to tell you what. I would agree with you because... It was
one of the first ones, for sure.
Because the majority of my motivation, the majority of what makes me... excited to get up every day and to go to work. And I call that a blessing because a lot of people don't get up and say, I get to go to work today.
Yeah.
They say they have to. And I'm very blessed. In my career, I get up and I say, I can't wait to go to work today. Mm-hmm. But I know that reading his books and listening to his tapes and also as he tapes, that tells you how old I am. But listening to his recordings, the stuff that he has said, his content, just like you said, it's been with all of us in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many times in my speaking career that I've said, and even to my employees when I had my company, is when I've said that if you can conceive it and believe it, you will achieve it. And that's one of his famous quotes. But if you think about it, it's so true.
It's funny, my album, Van, and instead of those 3, and it came from that, it's called From Struggles to Success, is the name of my new album.
Yeah.
And I literally, on the top, I have Proceed. No, hold on. What is it? Man, I flipped it. I flipped it out. Here, let me pull it up because now I want to tell you what.
and while you're doing that, I've got to tell you that
believe, proceed, achieve. That's what I have. Believe, proceed, because I think proceed is definitely the thing. Is it's like you can't just sit there and wish for it, right?
Yeah,
like
you gotta do something,
and that's where the determination comes. All those 4 Ds, you have to follow all those 4. So it's the action to me. So believe, proceed, achieve, and that's on the top of my new album that I got coming.
I love that. Tell us again how my audience can follow you guys and can just what is the best way for them?
We're probably most active on Instagram.
Okay, Instagram.
So our Instagram is the Minority Report Podcast.
Okay.
We're on Facebook as the Minority Report Podcast.
We just started that one.
Billy's got a huge following. Billy the Kid, DHAKIDD, and then I'm under Dan Does REI. With our podcast, we record the audio version, but then we also put out the video version on YouTube. Yeah. And that's evolved quite a bit, just kind of like the production of what the show looks like now. So
here's what I think is cool about the two of you is there's a lot of things I think that are cool about the two of you, but one of the things I like is that you've got such a diverse array of businesses that you're in. I mean, you're not just writing books. You're not just, recordings and music, but you're also, Dan, you're also helping people invest in real estate.
Yeah.
And, that's a pretty cool menu because so many young people today are finally getting it that, if you invest in real estate at a young age, at some point that piece of property is going to be paid off, and before you know it, you may have 1, 2, 3, 10, 20 of them. All of a sudden, you're like, hey, wow, I don't need to work anymore. I've got all this income coming in.
It's funny. There's people, Van, that will come and with me, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I just sold my house for this much more after 5 years or whatever. And I look at them and I'm always like, imagine that times 10. Yeah. Times 20.
There you go.
The more. So anyways, it's the power of real estate.
It's
for
definitely
sure.
a snowball, And, and I'm guilty of it. Billy's traditionally been the buy and hold guy.
Yeah.
And I've always been the flipper. Yeah. I love the quick cash, but I hate that tax bill hurts,
Yeah.
And so this year I've actually just started, I just kind of changed my model to, okay, I'm just going to start keeping more of these. And, I got 2 houses in 2 weeks, and then I'm working on another one now. And so and that was just since January, barely even into January.
Now, is it local where you're buying these houses?
Yeah, right now,
mostly Lincoln?
We're both local.
Yeah, all my stuff is local.
We haven't done out of state yet, but we've been Colorado.
I really recommend that because you can get a handle on it better when it's local. And if you're going to make any mistakes, it's a lot easier to fix when you're down the street.
I think down the road, once I have, good
experience,
the system too. Yeah. That I definitely agree with that. And I always like to real quick tell a story with Arnold the Terminator. He was a millionaire in real estate before he became this movie star. And that's the power of real estate, because once he achieved that freedom from real estate, he was able to focus on things he loved, which was acting, and look how big he got. So not that I'm him, right? Like I got my beer belly and stuff, but but I resonate with that story because freedom is the key. And once you, like, this beautiful thing that's happening right now is thanks to freedom. I don't have to be at a job right now that I hate. Yeah. I'm doing stuff that I love. Yep. So anyways, thanks for having me too.
That makes
this coffee's in the spot.
I'm on with, I'll have what he's having.
I want to have what he's having.
Get all sentimental right now.
So, of these, we're going to continue on the 4 Ds as drive. We've been talking about that. And, to me, in my experiences, the drive is fuel. The drive is the fuel that moves you forward. I look at drive and motivation as the same thing. Without being motivated, you're going to stay in one spot.
Right.
I don't care what you're doing. If you're not motivated, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And to me, drive is the same thing. And so, one of the reasons you hear me, and the more we spend time together, I like to share my goals because I'm passionate about what I had to do to get from point A to point B. And without drive, you just don't make that happen. Drive is a fuel, and it's a commitment. And I also believe that drive and commitment are two of the same. I believe you should be obsessed with your commitment.
I agree.
I mean, be obsessed with your commitment to your goals, and you have to be driven if you want to improve every day. Even though I've been there and done that in my career, and I'm trying to help everybody else get there, I'm still every day trying to improve on something that will make me better. And it's not something that you just wait for it to happen. You look for it to happen. You look to improve.
I love that.
Shonda Rhimes, which I'm sure everybody's heard with all of the success she's had with her shows. I really like what she says. There is nothing wrong with being driven, and there is nothing wrong with putting yourself first to reach your goals. Now, you always hear help others, help others, help others. Like Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite motivational speakers and authors, he always says, if you help enough people get what they want. Yeah. If you help enough people get what they want, it'll come back to you 10 times over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also believe that we as human beings, if we don't put ourselves first, and if we're not driven and we have the desire to succeed, if we don't make that happen for us first, it's going to be hard for us to influence others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you say, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Let's say it again, Dan.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Well, that, and also I like to use the analogy of, like, when you're in an airplane and the mask drops, you have to help yourself first. Put that mask first, and that's how you could help the person next to you. Yep. Because if you don't, you're going to be dead and gone, and they're probably going to be dead and gone too. It's the same analogy I use with myself. Like when I first started getting into this self-help stuff, and really getting the drive to go at it with my goals, I always thought, okay, I'm gonna quit first because and maybe on the outside it looked bad, like, oh, his wife is still working, right?
Yep.
But then, you know, within a year or a year later, my wife quit because I put my mask on first.
Yep.
And guess what? It's going to only keep going now with my mom and everybody else in my family, friends or whatever. So definitely help yourself first. It's not greed. It's, you know, all these people, the way I look at it is if people criticize you for that, it's comfortable people like my book. The uncomfortable people like us, people that are doing things, we're actually going to celebrate each other. We're going to help each other. If you need something, you know, and if I got it, you know, you got it too. So But comfortable people are the ones that will criticize you the most when you start getting uncomfortable.
That is so well put. You know, you've got to take care of number one. It's like, I don't know how many times I've heard people say, if you don't love yourself first, how are you going to love others? Mm-hmm. You got to take care of. The more you take care of who you are and make yourself better, the more you're going to empower, inspire, and encourage other people to want to be the same.
Yeah.
I try really hard to lead by example, and a lot of my examples I don't want you to follow. And I'll tell you, these are my failures. These are my victories. I want people to learn from my failures, but I also want them to follow my victories.
Yeah.
Because it's not, and it's not just people that are self-employed. It's not just people that are working to be self-employed. You can be a total rock star and fulfill all your dreams by working for somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can. I've got great people in my life that work for companies, but they're rock stars at their companies. They have the entrepreneur mindset when they go to work every day.
And that's the employee you want.
That's the employee you want, because I want to tell you something. Without those employees, their companies don't rock and roll.
Yeah.
They just don't. You've got to have entrepreneurial mindset inside your company. Like, I had a big speaking gig last Thursday, and I have always a question and answer, and it was amazing because my question and answer was an hour and a half long. Wow. And these guys were coming up to me, and they're saying, well, I've got a full-time job, and what am I supposed to, how am I supposed to fulfill all my desires with working for somebody else? I'm like, you're in a perfect spot. Mm-hmm. You can make a gigantic difference at where you're working. Yeah. You can utilize all the entrepreneurship skills at your job.
And people think that money will buy happiness.
It doesn't.
And I love that you touched on that, because you could be happy working at Burger King.
Yep.
I was. Bingo. When I used to work at Burger King, I was happy.
Yep.
When I actually take it back to El Salvador, when there was no running electricity, I was happy. I was a happy kid. So money doesn't have to be, and people think there's this end goal, and it's like, once you get to that goal, you could be happy now with whatever it is that you have, and always strive to be better, and not just materialistic, but just a better person, right? Like, work on yourself.
And so you and I have a lot in common, because you were at Burger King, and I was happy because I'd take an edible, and then I'd go through the drive-through. So, we were both
we're all happy. Everybody's happy.
Hi, can I have
win-win.
Hi, can I have 32 Whoppers, please?
What kind of podcast is this, man? Love it.
Well, I better enjoy these two, because I don't think they're going to ever call me again. My last episode.
Call you about the
we'll probably call you more.
You guys are awesome. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Burger King. No, let's talk a little bit about determination.
That's what we're having for lunch.
Yeah, that's right on. So determination. I mean, all these are really powerful four words, but without determination, things don't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not determined to fulfill your goals and fulfill your dreams, it doesn't happen.
I agree.
So wouldn't you say that both of you guys, your positive mindset, your outlook on life, your whole mindset, isn't it because you're determined to live the best life you possibly can?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, and I think, I probably speak for Billy when I say this, is that, we're determined for our families to prosper and for us to have the freedom that we want. And so ultimately, I think that's the goal. We all grew up with very humble beginnings here.
Yes, we did.
And so we know what it's like to struggle. We know what it's like to go with a lot, without. And so there's always that fine line, that struggle of like, you want to make your family comfortable and have everything they need, but how much of that do you want to do? Because, what does this say? Hard times create hard men, and then hard men create easier times, which creates soft men.
Yep.
And so you got to be careful, because down generational wealth can kind of mess that up. But yeah, definitely and it's the same thing as all the other D's in there. You have to choose that mindset that you want to have. Billy and I ran into some people a few weeks ago that, when we first started talking to them, it seemed very positive, and it turned out to be a very negative atmosphere. And we just quickly looked at each other like, well, this is not what we want to be around. Yeah. And so we did whatever we could to get out of that as quickly as possible. Yep. And because we choose to not be negative people.
Yeah. So you're determined to be around good humans.
Oh yeah, you got to.
And I think you have to, every morning you have to wake up like, I'm the baddest mother. Can we cuss in here?
You can.
I mean, we've said everything at this point. So. You have to look at.
Can we cuss in here? Billy, my man.
Kicked out.
My main man, Billy.
You're kicked out.
Billy's in jail for cussing on the Van D podcast.
Dang it.
No bail. No bail.
Dang it, dude.
Life with no parole.
But no, I think you have to wake up every morning and look at yourself in the mirror with confidence and know that you're going to do it. And I think that drives that determination for you to have whatever goals you have. Again, look at yourself, and that's the person you're competing with. Yeah. Don't look at the next person whoever.
Yeah. The man in the mirror. And so it's kind of a segue to what I really believe in, and people that have listened to my podcast and listened to my speeches, do not think it's weird or uncomfortable. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror, like you said. When you get up every morning, say you're going to be the best badass you possibly can be. So one of the things that I had a ritual, I would look in the mirror and I would say, I am determined to be successful today. I am determined to use my God-given talent today. And if we don't talk to ourselves and make ourselves accountable, how is anybody else going to be comfortable, to hold us accountable?
Yeah.
So
I write my affirmations every morning.
I love it.
At least 3 of them. And I challenge anybody listening to write 3 affirmations.
Yep.
Every morning. Every morning. And it could be the same 3.
You throw it out in the universe.
Yeah.
You throw it out there. So we talk about people that we enjoy their quotes and leaders and thought leaders. One of mine has always been Vince Lombardi. I started listening and reading about Vince Lombardi back when I first got in business in the 80s. And one of the things that he says is the price of success is hard work, dedication to the job at hand, and the determination that whether we win or lose, we have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand. So just because you're mastering all the 4 Ds, it doesn't always mean you're going to be successful. But I want to tell you something. The next time you apply it, you will be. So you can't expect to bat 1,000 every time. Yeah. But if you don't apply all these things, you won't.
Right.
Well, it's like exercise. Like you go to the gym once. Yeah. I rather work out 20 minutes every day than go to the gym for 9 hours and expect the next day to see a change. It's like consistency is key. Yep. You have to literally do something daily. And a year from now, you're going to see your life change. Yep. I promise you.
It's that compound effect.
It totally is. I believe that many people are wasting time trying to find like a magic sauce to become successful, when really all they need is to focus on determination, to take the necessary steps that make things happen. And to me, determination, once again, without the 4-letter word, none of this works. WORK. If you don't
proceed,
if you don't work at it, nothing's going to happen. So, guys, the last thing that we're going to talk about today is I think the glue that sticks all these 4 Ds together, and that's discipline. And if we don't have the discipline, it's not going to happen.
We heard a really good quote at a conference that we were at a couple of weeks ago, and they said, discipline starts where inspiration ends. And I love that because, you've been to conferences like entrepreneurship type stuff, and they made a good point in saying that, you're drinking from a fire hose at these conferences. There's so much great information, and there's like, you're just pumped. Everyone's motivated. We're all talking to each other. Then you're going to go home and what now? Yep. And they're just like, that's where the inspiration is going to end because you're not in this environment anymore. And now that's where the discipline starts. So what are you going to take away and what are you going to start implementing in your life?
I love that. You know, one of the thought leaders that I really enjoy listening to, another guy named Jim Rohn. I don't know if you, and I figured you guys did, but he says it very simple. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. I mean, you know, so you've got your goals, you know where you want to be. Now you have to create the path to get there. And all these 4 Ds, without these 4 Ds, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Drive, desire, determination, and discipline.
And patience. I always tell people, you want to be successful, learn how to manage patience, because there's days where you're going to wake up, there's going to be losses. But if you look at losses in a negative way, I look at them as lessons. Basically, you learn something from doing stuff that you've maybe never done before, right? So,
and that's about your book. I mean, tell us just a little bit before we go about your book.
Yeah, the title is The Power of Being Uncomfortable, and it's...
I love that title.
Thank you.
I love that because so many people will not step out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
People I coach and people I talk to about success are so scared to step out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I realized that where I'm at now is because of that quote unquote power, right? That and again, when I say I discovered it in my life. Right. I realized that every time I did something that I've never done before and I jumped at it and I took that action, things came out of good things came out of that. So that's and I always, throughout the book, I keep drilling people like, hey, when I first recorded my first song, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I did it. And then now I can say I'm a songwriter. Yeah. Even the book itself, I say, hey, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. First time I'm ever writing a book, but here I am. I'm getting uncomfortable. And what I love now is, because I talk about vacations on there, like taking vacations that, for example, with me, I want to travel the world, for example, but I couldn't even go to Puerto Rico because I was afraid of the ocean, but I did it, right? Like and at that time, I already knew that power, so I did it consciously. And when you start to get yourself in uncomfortable situations on purpose, your life changes. Go on a vacation. That's really the most simple way to practice this power, is going on a vacation, because you don't know, and I talk about it in the book, you don't know, especially places you've never been to before, you don't know where your car is going to come from, your hotel. And nowadays, I mean, it's easy Uber, right? But it's just the atmosphere that you're putting yourself into. And I love getting people message me with checks. Hey, I started my side hustle, you know, or they're on airplanes, like, hey, we quit our job the beach today. Yeah.
Like, well, we didn't say do that.
Getting all these pictures, I love that, because that was the whole point of me making that book.
And they're proud of themselves, and they're honoring you for writing that book. But the other thing that I would get out of being out of your comfort zone is, just because you're stepping out of it, you may try something and realize this is not for me. But if you didn't step out to try it, you wouldn't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not like you have to get out of your comfort zone and force yourself to do something. If you try it and you don't like it, at least you tried.
Yeah, and you would. I feel like both of you guys would agree that to be where we're at right now, it's because we practice that power daily. Yeah. You know, it could have been easy for me to say, "Oh, sorry, Van, no, I don't want to make that drive today." You know, whatever the case is, but no, literally every day with me is I practice that power. You know, I get a call from any of my businesses, something that I've never seen before, but you have to solve those problems. That's getting uncomfortable. So
and I hope my audience will buy your book. Where's the best place for them to go?
So if you go to billythekid.com, DHAKIDD.com, I am actually mailing out autograph copies. Otherwise, it's out everywhere. Amazon, Walmart.com, Target.com, pretty much anywhere books are available. There's also the audio version too that I'm excited about. Since I'm a musician, I did a few things in there that are a little bit different than your typical audio books. But check it out, and any feedback messages, we're always replying.
You're pretty approachable.
For sure. Both
of you guys are approachable for people to contact. So this podcast will be on my social media, Facebook and LinkedIn and all that other stuff. And Dan, do you have any parting thoughts today before we end our podcast?
No, you know, I'm honored to be on. We had a great time being on this and having you on ours. And
Thank you.
I hope I hope we bring some value, to someone.
You guys do, yeah.
And like you said, we are very approachable. If you have any questions, or want to grab a coffee and talk about real estate investing or just entrepreneurship, we're always down for that. And we'll probably be doing a little contest here for some free coaching.
Awesome.
Soon. We got to work out the details, but we'll maybe if you can help share that too when it's ready.
I will, and I want to tell you something. I encourage my audience. I get very lucky every once in a while. I run across people that you just want to cling on to. And when I met Dan and Billy, I knew within minutes. They were at a speaking engagement that I did a while back, and I knew within minutes I wanted to be their friends. And before knowing what you guys did, I knew I wanted to be your friend.
You were my first book flop.
Oh, right on, man.
That book had barely came out, so.
See, that could be a song. My first book flop.
Featuring you?
Yeah. Dang it, Deeb. There's a couple of songs there. But I encourage my audience. I love genuine, authentic people that have organically grown their business, and they're just darn good humans, and I'm very blessed to know both of you, and I can't thank you enough for being on the podcast, so thank you very much.
No, the honor is ours for sure, man. And we really appreciate it.
Thank you, and please remember to subscribe and to rate this podcast, and please go to Van Deeb, Apple, vandeeb.com, Apple, Spotify, subscribe to it, and the big thing I'd love it if you would share this podcast with people you think that would enjoy it. But thanks again for listening. Until the next time.
Vámonos.
A Hurrdat Media Production.